If there's one video you need to watch on how to set up Tradovate from scratch, your layout, and all the way to how to execute your orders, this is it. This is the video I wish I had back when I first started using Tradovate. So without wasting any time, let's get to the video. So first off, you're going to need a username and password for Tradovate. I am using prop firms, and if you are using prop firms too, then your prop firm should provide you with these details, right? In the comments below, you have my recommended prop firm right now, which uses Tradovate. And I'm just going to go ahead and log in. And you're going to have two modes right here, market replay and simulation. You want to go on the simulation. And this is how Tradovate is going to look like the first time you open up, right? Like this is a completely default setting for Tradovate. So the first thing that we're going to do is basically start from zero, right? So you have a lot of excess. We just want to close all of these tabs, right? So we close here, we close here, close here, close here, and then close here. Okay, so we want this to completely be just like this, completely blank, and then we can customize this to our liking. I'm going to show you guys how I have it personally, and then down the line, if you want to add some of your stuff or remove, you could do that too. So the first thing you want to do is click plus here, add modules, and then here are the modules that you can drag and drop and place on your dashboard. The first thing that obviously we're going to need is going to be charts. So we go ahead and locate the chart here. We click, okay, drag, where I'm not releasing the mouse right now. I have clicked, I'm holding, and I'm going to release it right here. So we have the chart, and you can search your instrument right here. Now, with other different platforms that you might have used, there's no such thing as a continuation contract on Tradovate, right? You have to put the specific month that you are trading. So right now, if I'm trading micro NASDAQ, okay, I'm going to go with the December contract, which is a Z. And I would go with this. And then we have the micro NASDAQ contracts for the December month, okay? Now, let's say you want multiple charts, right? Because maybe you're looking at different markets. There's two ways to do that. You can split the screen, right? So I could go ahead here and add another chart. Okay, click and drag and then drop it on the side, just like so, and put another market here, which personally, I don't prefer to do this with Tradovate because here's the issue. Let's say I have here micro ES on the December contracts. Just remember the choice here so it doesn't give us this setting again. Okay. The problem with this is this. We don't see all of our buttons here at the top on the order ticket. We have to use the scroll kind of thingy here, and I personally do not like it. I don't know why Tradovate does this. Probably they should make these come a little bit lower, but again, that's not happening. So if your screen is tiny, and I have a big screen, right, and it's still cutting off, uh, I probably will gonna use one chart. Okay, don't show this again, so we don't have these things showing up again. And I'm just gonna click this plus button here as a new tab, and then I'm gonna open that specific market right here. Okay, so we have micro NASDAQ here, micro ES here. Okay, and we can go back and forth from this. Now, we also want to add the DOM. Okay, I personally am not a fan of the DOM on other platforms, but with Tradovate, there's a couple of ways that I use it personally, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how. So we're going to locate the super DOM right here, click, and then drag it. You can either put it in your left or you can put it on your right. Personally, I prefer it on my right. So it is right there, and then we're just gonna do that same contract that we have there, and there she is, the DOM, right? You can just move this as far as you want, okay? And then lastly, what I add here in my charts is gonna be the performance, okay? Right here at the bottom, okay? Basically, you can find that same performance tab that you can see right here on the top right. If you click this day margin, you can see the same performance tab here. If you go click go, right? This is exactly what's showing down there. All right. I just prefer to have it down here just because it makes things easier. And then I also like to add these different tabs to this as well. So I'd go to the plus sign and then locate positions, and I'll drag it right here, right? You want to make sure you're dragging things correctly so it doesn't get messy. I'm going to put my positions right there. Okay. And then lastly, the orders as well. Where are the orders? Right there. Okay, actually, that 1 second. Okay, so I have the performance center, my orders tab, and my positions tab. Okay, so I'll just put that there at the bottom so it doesn't take too much of my screen, right? And I can still see my gross P&L of all my trades, profitable trades, losing trades. and I can see my recent orders and positions as well. Okay, that's it when it comes to like the layout overall. And a couple of things that you want to keep mindful of. Going back to the performance stats here, if you are using a journaling platform, external journaling platform like TradeZella, for example, this is exactly where you will be taking that data from. You're actually going to go to orders, make sure you choose the time frame that you want. Hey, I want this week. Going to go to go, and then you're going to download CSV. Okay. And basically, that's the file that you're going to upload to your external journaling platform. Again, like I personally use TradeZella. There's a bunch of other journaling platforms out there. You can use whichever you want. But basically, this is where that's going to be happening. Make sure you are on the orders tab up here and selecting the right time frame, clicking go, and downloading CSV here at the bottom. Okay, so let's go back to our layout. Now that we have the layout set, let's actually customize this a little bit because it still looks a little bit messy in my opinion. Now, I want to preface this. I do not use Tradovate for my charts. Okay, so I will actually completely remove everything from my charts here, every indicator that you see, because I do not use it for charts. I'm using TradingView for charts where all of my indicators is and my analysis happens there. This, right, this platform, I only use it for executions. So I'm going to clean things up a little bit here. But if you want to add indicators to it, there's going to be a bunch of indicators on this indicators icon right here, right, which you can add yourself. But personally, I'm just going to completely get rid of everything. So we're going to click the settings icon right here. And then we have these elements. I don't need that. I don't need that either. Okay. And then if you click the chart settings, there's a couple of things which you can turn on and off here, right? If you want to turn on the grid, right? I personally don't like the grid there. The current position, I want that. The fills and orders, show order line, show fills. So that's good, right? Price levels, last trade price, that's fine. High and low, I really don't need that. Okay. And then volume bar, auto fit chart, continuous auto fit. This is something I don't like either. Now it's on. Basically, this is what auto fit does, right? If I move the chart like this, like it just moves it back, auto fit it. I personally don't like that. I mean, if you think that does things easier, keep it on. But personally, I hate this. So I'll go to chart settings again here, turn that off. Okay, so now if I move it there, like I could do whatever I want with it, right? So again, what we did is we removed the indicators there when we hit the settings right here. Then we went to chart settings and we made sure that we only have what we actually need. Again, this is customizable to your liking, right? If you want to, turn off your orders and fills and all of that, we can turn them off as well. You'll see how they work in a minute here once we start taking some trades. But I want things as clear as possible because as I said, I'm going to be using this for execution. I want my execution to be as clean as possible. And then we also have the time frame right here, time period. You can choose any time period you want. I'm personally mainly on a 1 minute right here. And obviously, if you want to change your specific charts from candlesticks to bars, a line, Renko charts, you can do them there. I use candlesticks, so I'm not going to mess around with that settings. And then we click template list, save template, and then just save this to default KV, right? And I click save. That way, now when I go to my ES chart, which looks like the same way, I could just click a template list, default KV, and there we are, right? I didn't have to do all of that all over again, except for the time period, which we need to do that manually, okay? And there we have the ES chart is where we want it to be as well. Now, through the video, you probably saw this coming up quite often, right? And it's because if you left click on a Tradovate chart, it actually opens up the sell and buy limit orders for you to open an order. Now, I personally like to have it there because I am taking positions or exiting positions mainly from the chart. But if you don't want that to be on, you're going to go to the settings icon right here, and then you're going to turn off trade mode. Okay. Now, if you left click on it, it will not happen again. We have that on right there because I will be using it. And lastly, before we actually start and execute some orders here, so you can see exactly how we execute things. If you go to the settings to the top right corner, there's a few settings to keep in mind, okay? You're going to go to preferences. You can change from a dark to a light appearance, right? I personally have it as dark. Auto roll, I'm going to leave this disabled. So when the contract expires, it actually auto rolls it to the newest contract. And then there's going to be a lot of notifications here, which if you want to keep them on, keep them. I keep them on. And then confirmations is really not necessary, okay? Just because it's going to delay your process, especially when placing an order, right? Because every time you try to place an order, it's going to pop up and be like, hey, are you sure you want to place this order? And by that time, you've already lost a few seconds. So personally, I completely have that off. And then not on this page, but actually right here on your right, you have risk settings. This is a new feature that Tradovate has released to keep you more in check with your risk. So basically, you can put a daily loss limit, a weekly loss limit, a daily profit target, and a weekly profit target. The weeklies, I personally don't use them as much, but a daily loss or a daily profit target can help you a lot, whether you're trying not to pass a consistency target, right? And trying to keep in line with those consistency targets, and obviously losses to keep yourself in check, right? Now, these limits are in real time. Basically, if you were to put a daily loss limit of $500, okay, if you hit $500, even though the trade has not been closed yet, it will close you from the trade and it will also stop you trading from that day. As you can see right here, it will disable you from trading that day until the next trading session. Okay, because a lot of people get confused. "Oh, okay, I was in the trade, but Tradovate stopped me out before the trade even closed, right? It will happen. If you have a daily loss limit of 500, once your unrealized PNL hits 500, it will completely lock you out. Okay. So make sure you are using a daily loss limit and a daily profit target. It is recommended, especially if you are just starting out. Okay. Now, lastly, on the DOM here, just a few settings on the DOM. Click settings right here. Um, Click settings right here. And then I want to show the estimated PNL. Click save. And that is it. Okay. This is it with the layout, all the settings, all the features, everything is here on our charts right now. All we got to do is execute. So, how do we enter a position? There's going to be a couple of different ways. You can either use the order ticket right here. You can either use the chart or the DOM. Personally, I'm using the order ticket and I'm mainly using the buy bid and the sell ask buttons because those are limit orders. Now you also have this one right here, which is the number of contracts that you want to open. So let's say we're just opening one contract right now. Let's say buy bid, right? You see the order filled right there. Once you see your P&L moving as well, you should be in that position. And you also have the arrow there. And these are kind of the features that you might want to change when we went here to chart settings, okay? The fills and orders, right? I can show or not show this, right? I can keep that there, right? I can show the fills or not show the fills, right? We don't see that arrow anymore. Personally, I like to keep those things on just because it helps me just visualize where I entered in the chart and so on. Okay. Now we are in the position. We have our P&L moving right here. And we also see how many contracts we have currently in that position. Now, how do we exit this position? Where first of all, you can put a stop loss and a profit target as well. Now, because we entered in a buy position right here, our stop loss is going to be somewhere down here. And it looks like that out of it didn't come here. Let me just make sure it is off. Okay. Now let's say I'm placing a stop loss right here. Okay. I'm going to click and then click sell stop. That is a pending stop order that if the price hits 6608, it will trigger a market order for a stop loss. Okay. Now, if I'm placing a profit target, I'm going to do the same thing, but on the upside because I am in a buy, I'm in a long. So let's say my first profit target is here. Click sell limit. So you're always doing the opposite of what you did the first time. And this is futures, right? If you bought, you're going to sell for a profit target and you're going to sell for a stop loss. And you can actually see these same exact stop losses on the DOM here as well. So let's make sure we are on the MES DOM. Okay. You're going to have a green arrow where we entered. Okay. And we entered right here, 6614.75. You have a green arrow. And then we will have one pending order right here, which the DOM also shows us our estimated PNL right there. And that's why I like to use the DOM on Tradovate, right? Because they don't have the functionality where I see how much I'm going to be losing if that stop loss hits. But the DOM actually shows me. Same thing for the profit target. If I scroll all the way to the profit target, I can see my estimated PNL right there in the DOM. And you can also drag and drop these just like so. And you can also drag and drop these on the DOM as well. Click and then drag it there. And it's going to automatically update it here on the DOM as well. Okay. Now, let's say there's a panic situation, you're like, oh my God, I just want to sell. I'm so confused with these limit orders. There is this exit at market and close button, which I personally only use it as a panic button, right? Because it will trigger a market order. And what that does is it will close the position and cancel all of those pending orders as well on the chart. Now, as you can see, the position says 0 because we have nothing there anymore. You'll see here at the bottom, the performance center, how much you're up or down on the day. And then you're going to see this little arrow that says sell, right? Because we got out of that position. Now, let's say you are opening multiple contracts, right? Because that example was with one contract. Now, let's say we are opening 3 contracts. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. Let's say we're just going to do buy bid again, right? We have 3 contracts, and right there we can see where we got filled as well at 66.10. Or you can see your orders here and see exactly where you got filled as well, right? 366.10 filled. Okay. Now stop loss is the same, right? Stop loss is the same. Looking at the chart as well. So if I look at the chart, I'm gonna be like, okay, it's gonna be below these previous lows, for example, 65.96, right? So either I could do it right here and check the DOM, or do it on the DOM and just make sure it lines up with this. So right here, 65.96, for example, sell 3 stop, and I just go on the DOM, see, okay, I'm probably going to be losing around $210 there, but it always has to match up with the chart as well. Don't put a stop loss just on the DOM because, hey, at that point, I lose $200. No, right? You got to make sure it is based from the chart. The DOM just shows an estimated P&L just so you're aware of how much you could potentially lose there. Now, if you are someone who partially exits, right, who partially exits position, you will have to do one thing. Either you use the DOM and always keep the quantity in 1 so you can exit right here, okay? Or you're going to have to flip these quantity here and make sure you do that. So let's say we want to sell 1 contract when it gets here, sell limit, and then maybe 2 other contracts when it gets here, sell limit. That way we are partially exiting our position, okay? If you are using the chart itself, or again, if you want to use the DOM, just make sure the quantity here matches the quantity that you want to sell as well. Now, one thing with Tradovate, these orders are not connected, okay? They are not OCO orders where one cancels the other, meaning that if you hit the stop loss right here, these other orders here will be pending as well. So let me just move the stop loss so we could get triggered. Stop filled, right? We are out of the position. You can see the position here says 0, but these orders right here still remain pending, still remains on the chart. And if you are something like this, you're like, okay, I don't have any other orders on the chart. You see the position 0 and you walk away. If the chart goes there, those orders will get filled. So always make sure that once you exit a position or once the day is over for you personally as a trader, make sure you click the exit at market close button right here, and it will cancel every pending order on the chart, whether you see it or don't see it. Now, lastly, there are OCO orders in Tradovate, but they have to be opened right away, and they only work with either a stop or a final profit target, right? So let's actually click this settings icon right here next to ATM. And this is the OCO bracket orders, okay? So you can name this strategy, okay, as, I don't know, plus, let's say KV, stop loss, right? I can put this in ticks, delta price, or dollar value. Ticks is usually recommended, right? And then you can put either a take profit in a stop loss or a stop loss only. So let's say I want to do a stop loss only, and I want to do my stop loss at 15 ticks, right? I'm going to click save. I'm going to have to turn this on right here, choose this. And then once I open this position, we should see that 15 tick stop loss actually placed there on the chart. So let's say I sell the ask because it's a limit order. Sometimes it gets filled and sometimes it doesn't. So this time it did not get filled right away. Either you can wait for it to get filled or you can just cancel the order right here, the pending order, and they both cancel. So let's try this again. Now it got filled and there is the stop loss right there, and it is connected, right? It is an OCO basically with your position, okay? And you can always just drag and drop that as well. And it just hit right there, so it just got filled. Now, if you want to get even more advanced with this, we go to settings again. We go to another one. We can just name this KV stop loss plus 1 PT, right? And then we can do take profit and stop loss, and then we can do take profit at 30, stop loss at 15. We click save. We make sure we select that. And then once we buy the bid right here, you can see that the order that we want to open the position is there, which just got filled. Okay. And then you have a stop loss order and a take profit order, which these are connected. Okay. If the stop loss hits right now, this order should automatically get canceled as well. Okay. So again, blank slate here. If I'm using my stop loss and my profit target, and if I'm buying the bid, whatever orders I have here, like just stick to those. You can drag and drop these, right? But don't try to enter more positions or exit more positions because it's just going to get so confusing, right? Or if you want to enter positions, at least turn this off, the ATM, right? And then if you do decide to enter more contracts on this one, right? If I buy the bid, just understand that your stop loss, right? Now we have two contracts. Your stop loss does not change, your profit target does not change. Okay. Again, this is the most confusing thing with Tradovate. So I wanted to cover a few examples of how things could get messy if you are using bracket orders. Personally, I do not use them because, as you can see, just there's just so much happening, and it's really difficult to pre-plan a lot of these things ahead, right? Maybe the stop loss you can, but if not, like I like to take partial profits, and it's not the best way to do it, right? How I was doing it previously with using the DOM and using just the orders on the chart manually, that's the way I do it personally. Lastly, with bracket orders as well, I want to cover this as well because that is a functionality. Let me just completely exit this position here. ATM as well, we click settings. And then I'm going to name this KV multiple PTs. Okay. Here's what this does. We're going to click type and we're going to take profit only. And then we're going to place our first profit target at 15 ticks. And then we're going to click this plus icon. We can place another target as at 30. We can place another target here at 40, right? And you can also put how many contracts you want to sell in each one of those targets. So if I want to sell 111, we could do that. If I want to sell 211, we could do that. So I click save. Now I want to turn that ATM on here, multiple PTs. And if I want to buy the bid, as you can see, we have those orders right there, okay, which gets triggered as the price moves up. So this is another way to use bracket orders. And I'm probably going to make a separate video on copy trading. But before we close this off, the bracket orders will not work for copy trading natively in Tradovate. Okay. So if you have a bracket order like this, and if I had multiple accounts linked to this as well, group trading, the bracket orders would not work. Okay, so again, there's a lot of flaws when it comes to Tradovate and their OCO bracket orders here, but if you want to use them, there's a couple of ways that you can use them. Again, personally, I do not touch them. I know it was a long video, but that's all you need to know about Tradovate. Okay, you don't need to spend hours and hours on other YouTube videos trying to get some information here, some information there. If you want to start trading on Tradovate today, start from scratch. This is the way to trade. Okay, this is the way to execute, and different ways to execute as well. If there's any specific questions you have about Tradovate or what I just showed here in this video, make sure you put them in the comments below. I'll try to respond to them or even make other videos about them if there's some things that you think I missed. But make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button if this video helped you.